Good evening. I'm James Gaddis. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday night. 3 people are arrested in connection with a teenager caught driving drunk after a school function last week. Action News reporter Lee Dana joins us from the live desk with more on this developing story. Lee?
James, a 16-year-old.
All right, thank you, Lee. The teen charged with setting fire to a landmark restaurant in Susquehanna County was in court today. Daniel Parsons gave up his right to a preliminary hearing. Parsons is charged with arson for setting fire to Bingham's restaurant in April. It's just off Interstate 81 in Lenox Township. Parsons had worked as a dishwasher at the restaurant. He was also a New Milford volunteer firefighter and helped put out the flames the night of the fire. The Outdoorsman and Country Landmarks Real Estate shared the building. Those businesses were also destroyed. Parsons can either move forward with a trial or enter a plea in the case. Turning to news in our schools, Johnson City's Board of Education is torn over what to do about next year's school budget after taxpayers rejected its first proposal. The Board of Education met tonight to weigh its options. The board can either hold a revote on that spending proposal, make cuts and put a revised budget up for a vote, or go with the state's contingency plan and reduce spending by $1.1 million. That would mean 22 additional faculty cuts. All equipment purchases, academic school supplies, and community group use of the schools would also be cut. The Board of Education says it is looking for a compromise.
So we always got to remember we got to educate 2,600 kids.
If the board chooses to hold a revote, a public hearing will be held June 8th. Taxpayers would head to the polls Tuesday, June 15th. The board is expected to reach a decision this Friday. The state's Commissioner of Education will take a closer look at the Deposit School District's budget vote. District board members made that decision Monday night. The budget vote was a tie after last Tuesday's tally, but a recount Wednesday morning showed the budget passed by 1 vote. The final tally, 224 yes to 223 no. Superintendent Bonnie Hauber says the board wanted to reassure the community of that final outcome.
First we heard that we'd won by 3. And then
the commissioner will make the final decision as to whether another recount is necessary. The SUNY system announces furloughs in response to New York's proposed budget cuts. In a memo to SUNY administration, the senior vice chancellor announced a furlough program in the next budget year. WRGB, the CBS station in Albany, received a copy of that memo. It says the furloughs affect managerial confidential employees. Those MC-13 employees making $150,000 or more will be furloughed 9 days, and those making less than that will be furloughed 7 days. This would start with the beginning of the budget year on July 1st. No word on how many Binghamton University employees could be affected. A key witness believes wounds suffered by a Johnson City police officer were self-inflicted. Dr. Michael Baden is a forensic pathologist. He says, based on how close Matthew Romano's wounds were, that Romano stabbed himself. And Romano claims he was attacked while on duty by 2 black men in Calvary Cemetery in 2006. He says he struggled with one of the men after he was first stabbed. Baden says it would be difficult to stab someone in the same location during such a struggle. But his opinion is only based on pictures, as he never visited the scene. 33-year-old Romano is charged with mail fraud in federal court in Binghamton. Romano was found not guilty in Broome County Court in 2008. If convicted this time, he could face up to 20 years in prison. More than 1 year after the tragic mass shooting, the American Civic Association says it has made considerable achievements. The ACA held its 2010 annual meeting in Binghamton tonight. The board addressed the year's accomplishments and its financial stability. It says there have been major increases in refugee settlement and immigration services. Executive Director Andrew Baranowski says joining together with the community has helped the ACA stay on its feet.
We've reached out to the community.
The ACA also inducted its newly elected officers and board members for 2010. Well, if you thought today was a scorcher, just wait until tomorrow. Meteorologist Doug Peters is in the Storm Tracker Weather Center with all the details. Hi, Doug.
Hi, James. Yes, tomorrow is going to be hotter than it was today.
All right. Thank you, Doug. Coming up on Action News at 11, more older people are on the hunt for jobs, but in the digital age, not being technologically savvy could limit your options. And before you hit the road this week, you may want to make sure you buckle up. You're watching WBNG TV's Action News at 11. Are senior citizens at a disadvantage when looking for a new job? Walmart has set up an employment center to fill 300 jobs at its new Johnson City location. which is set to open in July. But the application process is online or through a computer. This leaves some senior citizens who are not tech savvy at a disadvantage. Walmart associates say they will assist applicants in filling out forms, but one job seeker Action News caught up with says he's reluctant to share personal information with those helping.
I'm qualified for most of the jobs in Walmart.
Actions for Older Person says more people are enrolling in its computer classes. Daily lessons teach people how to use a keyboard and mouse as well as log on to their email. New Yorkers better buckle up before hitting the road this summer. The Click It or Ticket campaign kicked off yesterday. Law enforcement across the state will be keeping an eye out for drivers who aren't strapped in. Nearly 600 patrol units will support the campaign.
There are still a number of motorists across New York State.
New York has a seatbelt compliance rate of 90%. That is above the national average of 84%. Time now to get another check on our forecast. Meteorologist Doug Peters returns with Storm Tracker weather.
But cooling off behind that cold front on Thursday, back into the 70s.
91 and humid.
91 and humid.
Good day for the pool.
Yes.
Or some ice cream.
Right.
All right, thank you, Doug. Well, not everyone likes being in front of the camera, including this diva, Puddin'. Amy Ann, 1967, sent us this picture of the cat from Norwich. She says Puddin' was relaxing after a long day of laying in the sun and was in no mood for a picture. You can send us your videos and pictures using UNews through our website, WBNG.com. Then we may use it right here on Action News. And still to come on Action News at 11.
President Obama plans to send 1,200 troops to the southwest border.